and be happy beneath the stars above. Confess your feelings to the one you love, and let's live before it's too late. Let's live. Why deprive yourself of the wonders of life? Time is getting shorter. There's no reason for these lonely nights. If you don't hurry, you miss the boat. Let's live before it's too late. Let's live. Why should you live in a sad state of mind? Problems, problems, problems all the time. Do your best to get them off your chest, and everything will be just fine. Love is nice, but love is sometimes cruel. But when you've been in love, you have been to the greatest school. So try and make it in, honey, and I'll do the same. Let's live before it's too late. Let's live before it's too late. Let's live before it's too late. Let's live. Brother Allen Toussaint. Thank you.
The mayor of the city of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu.
Reggie and Allison, all the family members, which I guess must mean all of us, because if you look around, this is what the soul of New Orleans looks like and feels like, and we haven't had a greater godfather than Alan. We're going to hear so much about Alan's remarkable life and his timeless music today as we remember our beloved friend. But I want to take a minute to talk about what it really means to be a New Orleans icon. We have a couple of them. We've got the French Quarter. You got St. Louis Cathedral. You got the Superdome. But when you talk about the human embodiment of a New Orleans icon, you have to think about Mr. Alan Toussaint. An icon represents the best of something. An icon inspires, it challenges, and it motivates. Present company included, and there are a lot of spectacular people in this room. There's no musician in recent memory who has done more of that than Alan Toussaint. And his message of inspiration and motivation were not only evident in his manner, which was elegant and uplifting, but also in his music. He reminds us, in the words of his songs, Yes We Can, quote, now is the time for all good men to get together with one another, iron out our problems, iron out our quarrels, and try to live as brothers. That lyric is as relevant today as it was back in the turbulent 70s. You see, Alan was not only from New Orleans, for those of y'all who are counting neighborhood to neighborhood, Gertown specifically, he was of New Orleans. He was about New Orleans. He was a dignified presence who had and y'all all know it, a mischievous twinkle in his eyes. Just like New Orleans herself, Alan always gave you the show, whether it was his dress or his car or his musical performance. But he also gave us his heart. His work on the international music scene is what he is most known for, but he also gave from his heart as the founder of the Organization for New Orleans Artists Against Hunger and Homelessness, never forgetting the least among us. He toured almost nonstop after Katrina to spread the word that New Orleans was coming back, and she is still the place the rest of the world wants to be. He was one of our most visible international cultural ambassadors after the storm. He performed and gave his time to countless charities and special events of his career. It is that type of generosity of talent and of spirit that truly defines what it means to be of New Orleans. You see, Alan embodied the very best of New Orleans: generosity, authenticity, camaraderie, and most importantly, soul. He wasn't one to be caught up in his own ego. He wanted to share his music. He wanted to collaborate with musicians of all genres and to bring the very best to his audience. He worked with other artists throughout his entire career. Other musicians continually sought him out to work with him, to collaborate with him, always on something new, always life-giving. To be an artist like Alan who could make that type of collaboration work again and again not only took astonishing God-given talent and skill, but it took confidence and it took love in himself and in others. He drew from inspirations like Professor Longhair, and he gave inspiration to current musicians, many of you who are here today, all of you, Trombone Shorty, all the while being humble, gentlemanly, and a presence that drew people to him like a moth to a flame. He was beloved worldwide, but you can just look around and tell there's a line around the block. He's beloved here at home. He lived among us. He shopped among us. He prayed among us. He played among us. And he enjoyed his hometown like every other New Orleanian. Yet he was always Alan. He didn't live cloistered away from people. He lived in Gentilly. He lived in Lakeview. He lived among us, a kind and gentle soul. His nature cemented his legacy as one of our most cherished citizens. And not just for what he accomplished in his life, but truly how he lived his life, how he walked, how he talked, how he lived, how he loved every day. As I try to articulate such a remarkable man's life and legacy, I don't think I can say it better than he did himself. His lyrics are words to live by. Make this land a better land than the world which we live in, and help each man be a better man with the kindness that you give. So today, amen. Amen. As we say goodbye to him in his gone home ceremony, we say, I remember maybe his most famous lyrics, Southern Nights. Have you ever felt that southern night, free as a breeze, not to mention the trees, whistling tunes that you know and love? Mr. Toussaint, we will think of you on those southern nights and of the tunes you gave us, really the soundtrack of our lives, and we will forever remember and we will love you. And to the people of New Orleans, Alan always had it right about us from the beginning. His love letter to New Orleans, yes, we can. God bless you, and goodbye.
You are listening
Also
to
from Alan's
WWOZ
generation, another of
FM
our
New Orleans.
Really treasured musical icons, Deacon John Moore.
We are taking you live to the services, a memorial service for Alan Toussaint today. And this is WWOZ FM New Orleans and anywhere around the world at WWOZ.org.
Blessed are the humble, for they shall be exalted. Alan, if I were a king, I'd give you my crown. But my gift is my song, and this one's for you. One of these mornings, I'm a-going away. Any day now, I'm a-going to heaven to stay. I don't know how soon. Maybe morning, night or noon, but I'm going to see the Father, and by His side I'll stand. There'll be no more sorrows, no sadness, just only complete gladness. But any day, I know that I'm a going home. Then I'll shout hallelujah, and your praises, your name. But any day, I know that I am a going home. Let everybody say yeah. Let everybody say yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Please welcome a true friend of New Orleans musicians who also brings us a message from Aaron Neville, our WWL mainstay, Eric Paulsen.
It's so appropriate that we are here in this magnificent Orpheum Theater. Alan played the first music right here on this stage after the theater was reformed into what it is today. So it's wonderful that we're here. And to see Cyril and Deacon on stage, so many wonderful musicians. They are just two of the hundreds, no, the thousands of musicians that were touched by the life of Alan Toussaint. My name is Eric Paulsen. I am not a musician. I am simply a guy on television who had the honor and privilege of knowing Alan Toussaint. I have to admit, as a fan of Alan's, you can imagine the first time I met him, I was dumbfounded when he said he knew who I was. I mean, after all, he's Alan Toussaint. But he watched Sally Ann Roberts and me on the morning news because besides being a musical icon, Alan was a New Orleanian, and then he became a friend. There's no easy way to sum up the life of a man like Alan, so I won't even try. I could never come up with the words eloquent enough to describe a man who was so eloquent with words. And when he put those words to music, describing something as simple as a southern night, we were all there with him. It was magic. Alan had a gift from God, and he gave that gift, the gift of music, to all of us. If you knew Alan, he was a gentleman and a true gentleman, humble and soft-spoken. And part of his genius was how he could transform the deep thoughts he had about life, love, and the place where he grew up, New Orleans, and put them into simple lyrics that we could all feel and understand. When Alan was awarded by President Obama the National Medal of Arts honor, he told us live from the White House, wherever he goes, New Orleans goes with him. And Alan said it best in his song, "It's a New Orleans thing. It's the charm of the city. It's the Crescent City in me. It's a New Orleans thing. It doesn't leave you just because you leave town. We've got our own special swing. It's a New Orleans thing." Alan left us much too early, and while we mourn his loss today, we will bask under the light of his southern skies, where Alan will join the rest of the greats in that heavenly chorus. And his good friend Aaron Neville could not be here today, but Reggie, his son, asked if I would read some thoughts that Aaron had, including a poem. Aaron loved Alan Toussaint, and this is quoting Aaron now. "I want to thank him for believing in me in the early days of singing. He produced my first recordings back in 1960 to 1964 on Minute Records. He also recorded songs for my brother Art. Later in 1972, he recorded me again with songs like The Greatest Love and Hercules. He was an icon in the music business. He was a great humanitarian. Alan and I co-founded NOAH, the New Orleans Artists Against Hunger and Homelessness, back in 1985. And they are a wonderful organization. A benefit concert with Paul Simon in December for NOAH. That concert will still go on. Alan will be there in spirit. Paul Simon will be on stage on December 8th at Le Petit. I'm sure he is being thanked by a lot of people from New Orleans and around the world for helping him with their music careers. He was a great person and a great writer and a great producer. But most of all, he was a gentleman. He will be missed by the world's music. My heart is sad. His family is in my prayers. That fateful morning when I heard that Alan Toussaint had died, it brought a tear to my eye. Aaron wrote a poem that he wanted to share today, and it goes like this. Alan was a man so full of life and love, but God had a place for him on high above. He brought and gave so much with the music he played, people everywhere wish he could have stayed just a little longer, for he had so much more to give. But God had his reasons why he did not let him live. I'm sure right now God has him leading the band. That's why he called him home, this gentleman. He's in great company with Smokey Johnson, Booker, and the rest. The band consists of nothing but the best. Playing a golden piano for all up there to hear, I know in my heart that he'll make God shed a tear. I know someday we will all meet there once more, laughing and playing like we did once before. So until that time comes, you're in our thoughts and prayers. So play on, Alan, till we all meet you up there. Aaron Neville. Aaron also said that his belief is that we all run a race, and at the finish line, the Creator will be waiting for us with open arms to relieve us of all the pain and sorrow and forgive everyone for all of our humanly errors, and to put on that long white robe and make you comfortable for eternity, where no fear will ever fill your eyes again. Anything that got broken on your journey will be mended, so you can run and play and be happy forever as God's little children. I do believe that our beloved Alan is all right now and is looking down on us with love and peace and is waiting till we all meet again, loving all of us. This is my belief. Aaron J. Neville. Aaron also picked out a song that he did years ago that he thought would be so apropos for today. It is a beautiful song. I cry every time I hear it. But here we go. Aaron Neville, I Bid You Goodnight.
You're tuned to WWOZ FM New Orleans, coming live to you this morning from the beautiful Orpheum Theater, a tribute to Alan Toussaint.
Generation to generation, the light never really goes truly out. Davell Crawford.
Thank you, family, for sharing your father and your uncle, cousin with us.
Precious beauty lies just beyond the eye. It goes running through your soul like stories told of old. It feels so good. It feels so good. It's frightening. Wish I could stop this world from fire.
Thank you, Davell. Now, let's be ministered by the Queen of our souls, who stands at the very center of Alan's greatest works, Miss Irma Thomas.
Davell Crawford with his moving interpretation of Alan Toussaint's Southern Nights on WWOZ FM New Orleans, coming to you live from the Orpheum Theater.
It's kind of hard to explain when someone has written songs that have made so much to so many people. My husband and I feel very honored that his family has adopted us as a part of their family. And as always, it's a blessing to be honored to be a part of someone's family when you're not born into it. So this song is basically for the family. Alan knew that I always do what I think is best when it's time. And this song is specifically for the family because they're young, it was sudden. And they don't realize that he's in God's hands and God calls us when he's ready for us. We're not always ready to accept it, but when he's ready, he's ready. One of these mornings won't be very long. Look for me, and I'll be gone. I'm going to a place where I'll have nothing to do but just walk around heaven all day. When I get to heaven, I'm gonna jump and shout. Nobody there is gonna turn me out. Oh, my mother will be waiting, and my father will be waiting too. We'll just walk around heaven all day. Lord up above, don't you hear me pray? Please walk right by my side. Hold my hand when the way gets so cloudy. Oh, I need you to be my guide. Oh, every day will be Sunday. The Sabbath will have no end. We'll do nothing but sing and pray. Oh, when he says, well done, and the victory is won. We'll just walk
day. Sabbath will have no end. We'll be walking and saying howdy, 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 howdy. We'll just walk around heaven all day.
Josh took Alan in after Katrina in his new temporary home in New York City. And since that time, Alan has had no better true friend and supporter than Josh Feigenbaum. A few words.
I would first offer my deepest condolences to the family of Alan Toussaint and everyone who is near to him. We are all grieving the loss of your father and our dear friend. I was privileged to call Alan my friend and get to know the man behind the music. We came to know each other over the years, talking about everything and nothing, as friends do. We ate endless shrimp poor boys, his dressed with cheese. We had countless adventures, fishing, going to the White House and the Grammy Awards, and making more than a very few good records. I revered him when we first met in New Orleans during Jazz Fest in the early 80s. Later that year, I bumped into him again in New York City. After a brief hello, I invited him to dinner, and he surprised me by saying, "Yes, when?" Seizing the moment, I said, "How about tomorrow?" It was a charming evening in a small apartment in New York's Greenwich Village, with my twin babies, Emma and Zoe, sleeping in the other room. We sat around a small table and talked about Warner Brothers cartoons and music, New York City, and New Orleans. A lifelong friendship started over roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and for him, of course, no garlic, onions, or parsley, please. And a wonder and a sort of innocent curiosity we had about each other. We were catching up when he was in New York on a visit, and he said he had just seen Fats Domino perform. And I asked him, how was it? And Alan said, Fats Domino is like Monday following Sunday. He's always right there. No simple adjectives for Mr. Toussaint. Alan was very much unto himself. He came and went with the breeze. It was always an unexpected pleasure to spend time with him. Every fiber of his being was New Orleans. He was not a man of the world, especially in later years. I should say he was a man of the world, especially in his later years, but not a worldly man, in the best way. Never pretentious and always asking questions. When I would introduce him to academics, he would say, "They sure know a lot of stuff." So did Alan. About love and heartache, working for a living, loneliness, betrayal, and of course music. A walk with Alan in the French Quarter was a lesson in R&B old school. We would walk by every joint playing music, and occasionally he'd quietly get on the bandstand and sit in, and then leave just as quietly and quickly and continue his walk through the quarter. Alan didn't really walk. He strolled. He always greeted everyone who approached him gently and graciously. He stopped to listen to what they had to say or take a photo. Those walks with Alan could take a long time. One evening during Jazz Fest, we were walking down Frenchman Street when a woman said to Alan as he walked by, "You looking good, baby." And without breaking stride and barely looking, Alan said, "Thank you, baby." The guy was just the coolest cat on the planet. After 15 years of getting to know each other, we were sitting at a restaurant uptown in New Orleans, and he flattered me by saying, "I don't know anyone who loves music as much as you, except maybe for Jerry Wexler." "You should be making records." I replied, "I would love to, with you." And 9-0 Records was born. My idea was to take the man who helped create the indelible sound of New Orleans and give him the proverbial canvas, paint, and brushes to continue to make music. Those horn arrangements, rhythms, melodies, lyrics, and production all came from a creative place deep in his soul. I would like to say 9-0 was an extraordinary success, but the world is a funny place. The record business was on the verge of collapsing. We persisted and made records with Raymond Miles, Little Buck Senegal, James Andrews, and the first new Alan Toussaint record in 17 years, and many others. They say, how do you end up with $1 million in the record business? Start with $2 million. I don't care, and I'm glad we made those records happen. And I'm proud that 9-0 Records was another part of Alan's legacy. Thank you. Life and music continued as it will, until the winds of change became too strong. The winds came and the water came, and Katrina blew Alan up to New York City. A new chapter began in our friendship. His place of refuge was with me in Manhattan. At the post-Katrina benefit concert, The Big Apple to the Big Easy, Elvis Costello was one of the featured performers. I'd invited him to dinner with Alan, and he immediately accepted. Alan respected and admired Elvis's songwriting, but had only known him briefly when he produced Elvis's recording of a Yoko Ono song, Walking on Thin Ice, in 1984. Over dinner, he proposed making an album with Alan that would dig deep into Alan's song catalog. The album, The River in Reverse, was recorded in the fall of 2005. Elvis was a gentleman and the force that made that record happen. His knowledge and enthusiasm brought The River in Reverse to life. The collaboration with Elvis in the studio and the 2 years touring that followed changed Alan's life forever, and for the better. Alan became New Orleans' ambassador to the world. Thank you, Elvis. I'm glad the last 10 years were so active and productive for Alan, and I'm forever grateful the world found him and his music again. When we went walking, I would tease him and say, I have a great idea for you. You get a place in the quarter, a small place with just a piano and a bar in the back serving only whiskey and beer. You can call it Alan's Place. Every night you come in and play 2 sets. People would come from all over the world to sit and to listen to you play anything you wanted. Then you would get in the rolls and drive home and sleep. That will have to stay a dream. His last text to me came after we spent a couple of days in Los Angeles, where he was working on his last album. It said, "It was great having you share time out here. I treasure our friendship." Just a few weeks later, I got the sad news of his passing. It was an honor to walk with him for part of the trip. He was my best friend. I will sorely miss him. Rest in peace.
This is WWOZ FM New Orleans, coming to you live this morning from the Orpheum Theater.
Well, a sort of New Orleanian. Please welcome the great American troubadour, Jimmy Buffett.
I couldn't help but notice when we sing that beautiful montage to that song that Aaron did, Bid You Goodnight, that Alan got applause for his sandals. Actually, it's almost a standing ovation, I believe. As one who has no footwear except for today, I thought that was pretty cool. And once upon a time, before we used to, now we send music at high speed to space and back to the whole world. I was growing up on the Gulf Coast listening to the Mighty 690, WTIX. There are people old enough in this audience to remember that. There was a problem with it, though, because I was living in Mobile with my parents, but I'd always spend a lot of time in Pascagoula with my grandparents, and the terrestrial signal would only reach to Pascagoula. That probably was a sign to me. But on clear nights, on southern nights, sound waves could skip a little across the water a little better. And in Fairhope, Alabama, we would listen to the Mighty 690, and that was the music that got me into the music business. And sitting behind Deacon John amongst Irma Thomas, I knew those songs before I ever learned to play the guitar. And this is out of that group of songs. I realized that then I discovered that Alan was right in the mix on everything. And one of the greatest thrills of a pretty interesting life was when Alan accepted, when we were in the midst of yet another tragedy along the Gulf Coast after the oil spill, and we went over and trying to revive some spirit and get a little fun back into things. There was no hesitation at all when I called Alan to ask him to accompany us to do the concert for the Gulf in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Along with, if now, you know, there's pretty memorable sets were done with Jesse Winchester accompanying Alan Toussaint and the Coral Reefer Band. I don't need any awards. I've got mine from those experiences. So a little trip back to the Mighty 690 time right.
WWOZ FM New Orleans.
When I finally learned 3 chords, this was the song that taught it to me. Thank you, Alan. Went to the fortune teller to have my fortune read. Didn't know what to tell her. I had this dizzy feeling in my head. Then she took a look at my palm. She said, son, you feel kind of warm. She looked into her crystal ball and said, you're in love. I said, how could that be so? I'm not like those other fellas I know. She said, when the next sunrise, you'll be looking in her eyes. You know what to do. Oh, oh. Well, I left there in a hurry, looking forward to my big surprise. The next thing I discovered was that the fortune teller told me a lie. I hurried back down to that woman, about as mad as I could be. I said I didn't see nobody. I asked her why she made a fool out of me. Then something struck me, as if it came from up above. By looking at the fortune teller, I fell in love. And now I'm a happy fella. I'm married to the fortune teller. We're happy as we can be. And now I get my fortune told for free. Oh, he had a sense of humor. I'm in love. Thank you. So long, Alan.
Thank you, Jimmy. The direction of Alan's life changed when he met, wrote, recorded, and toured with Elvis Costello.
WWOZ FM New Orleans.
Alan was ageless, I'm not. When I was younger, it was inconceivable to me that I would ever meet Alan Toussaint, much less come to call him a friend. Toussaint's songs went around the world when I was just a boy, and if they were then sometimes played by a group of scruffy English lads with more enthusiasm than skill, then at least those songs went around the world like an echo in search of a home, and I hope they brought back a little money for their composer. By the time we first met in 1983, I was just the latest in a long line of pilgrims and supplicants who had traveled to New Orleans with a musical puzzle for Alan to solve. Ahead of me came some serious competition. Paul Simon, Paul McCartney, Frankie Miller. We all needed Alan's special touch as a master at the mixing board, an artist with his music manuscript, and another professor at the piano. To me, he seemed like an elegant prince out of history, gracious, generous, ever curious about what came next, but so modest. In the spring of 2005, I saw Alan for the first time in 15 years at Jazz Fest. We both said how good it would be to work together again. I couldn't know how soon that would happen or quite why. The next time I saw Alan perform, he was on stage in a small club in New York City, working his way through the most famous and almost untouched pages of his songbook. Those songs were to lift him up, make a bridge to a new working life, and bring him home again. If those songs were for always, they were for right then, as they are for right now. Just like these lines from Freedom from the Stallion. They've got men building fences to keep other men out. Ignore him if he whispers, and kill him if he shouts. If Alan had anger about what happened 10 years ago, it was measured, always balanced with his belief that it would all come back, that music would restore the spirit of the place that he loved, from within or without. Of his own material losses, he only said to me, "Well, the things I had then, they served me well." These are lessons for which I will always be grateful to him. Those of you who have known him longer and better than I will surely understand the great joy and thrill it was to make a record with him, to play with him night after night, from Green Bay to the House of Blues, from a club in Liverpool to an ancient amphitheater in the shadow of the Parthenon in Athens. We rode many miles on a tour bus together. Sometimes we talk about music. Sometimes we travel in a gentle but agreeable silence for miles. I only recall seeing Alan take off his suit jacket once. That was in a strange Swedish venue, a hollowed-out quarry serving as an auditorium, 5 hours north of Stockholm. Not a place where you would expect the temperature to be in the 90s, but then this was summer. When I arrived, my crew said, "You're not going to believe your eyes." Alan had dispensed with his usual pinstripe suit, shirt, and purple tie. Only the sandals remained. He was wearing the most immaculate powder blue tracksuit that you've ever seen in your life. Right down to the perfectly aligned white stripes piping down the arms and legs. The casual look. AT style. A few nights before these adventures began, Alan had taken the train down from his temporary digs in New York City to see me and the band play in Washington, D.C. He sat in with us at the 9:30 Club, leading us through a finale of 3 numbers. After the show, I told Alan that the USO had invited me to Walter Reed Army Medical Center the next day. He immediately volunteered to go with me. I'm not sure the organizers had really thought my visit through, perhaps more impressed with my name than they should have been. Truthfully, I was obscure to many of the wounded and sometimes traumatized young men that we met that day. Still, Alan and I went from room to room being introduced to soldiers, both newly returned from Iraq and veterans of earlier conflicts, still dealing with their wounds and medical problems. We were told that the previous entertainers to come to Walter Reed were the cast of Jesus Christ Superstar. I wondered about the wisdom of an actor walking into a hospital room and telling people he was Jesus. I should have known that Alan would know exactly what to do. He looked each man directly in the eye, whether they met his gaze readily or warily. Summoning up his own time in the army, he asked, "What is your MOS?" each man's military operational speciality, and reminisced about the bases in which he had been stationed back in the 60s, some of which were common ground with the patients. In the end, it wasn't about whether we were well known or whether the servicemen had heard any of our songs. It was about our shared humanity and the time we spent together. I saw Alan take his songs out into the world and play them as never before. I saw Japanese record fans bring Alan compilation albums full of songs he'd forgotten he'd even recorded. He signed every one of them, both patient and amazed. He even sat for an hour or so on a summer afternoon in my mother's front room when we played near our home in Liverpool. After that day, he never failed to ask after her health, or for that matter, after my 3 sons, Matthew, Dexter, and Frank. When we last played together at the Civic Centre in March, Alan brought a Mardi Gras tiara for me to bear back to my wife with his compliments, because we'd been unable to join the festivities, and he didn't want her to feel left out. It's these little kindnesses that I will miss most of all. That and the chance that I might hear him sing and play again, or hear that voice. As impossible as it seems that I should be standing here today, paying my condolences to Reginald and Alison and all the family and all of his dearest friends, Joshua, and all of you, all who loved him, I will close as he always did to me, in every note and every telephone call, looking forward.
This is WWOZ FM New Orleans, coming to you live from the Orpheum Theater in the Central Business District of New Orleans, paying tribute to Alan Toussaint.
He is simply one of the great New Orleans singers of our era. Share a moment with John Boutte.
baby, I started to cry. Well, I've got it bad, but it's all right as long as you're with me. Every night, your love so warm, so tender, the thrill is so divine, yeah. It is all these things, that make you mine. Touch of your lips next to mine gets me excited, darling. You see, it makes me feel fine. The touch of your hand, your sweet hello, the fire inside me when you're holding me.
Coming to you live from the Orpheum Theater in New Orleans, Louisiana, a tribute to Alan Toussaint. We just heard Mr. John Boutte. You are listening to WWOZ FM New Orleans at 90.7 around town and at WWOZ.org around the world.
We're going all the way back to the early 70s when he was aware of Alan's music. He began to record Alan's songs. So for over 4 decades, he has been and will continue to be a voice in the world for Alan Toussaint music. Boz Scaggs.
First of all, I'd like to give my condolences to the family, and especially to Allison and Reggie. Thank you, Reggie, for having me here and making me feel at home, as you always have. You're a man of your own, in your own rights, but you have been an amazingly faithful and honest son to Alan, and given so much to the community. Thank you. Well, it's been one of those days. There's of course sadness in the air, and but a great deal of joy in just thinking about Alan, which we all have been doing for the last several days. I had so much to say, and of course I left I had just some notes I wanted to read from that got left someplace back in the dust this morning. So I'm winging it here with just a few memories. Much has been said, much more than I can possibly add to. I'm preaching to the choir, so to speak. I'm in the heart of Alan's domain here, and I've been made to feel so comfortable over the years by Alan, by his people, and by the spirit of this city. I'm grateful to be able to say a few words. I did a concert with Alan this past May, my band, and Alan came out solo and did about an hour or so of a master class in mastery and class. He looked marvelous. He was in his element. He turned on a room in downtown San Francisco. Some 3,000 people were listening to every word, and he thrilled us all. There was a particular part of his set that evolved around the song Southern Nights. And anyone who's seen Alan in the last several years probably has heard some of this brilliant soliloquy that he developed around the song, in which he told a story about when his father loaded the kids in the car and said, "We're going down to see the old folks. We're going to the country." He played piano throughout the whole piece, never missing, changing chords, changing keys, and just did that little riff that goes through Southern Nights. And as he told his story, and you could hear in those little riffs the sound of the wind through the trees, as he told the story about going back to the country to visit his family, his cousins, his aunties, his uncles, and the great matriarch, who I assume must have been his grandmother. He told about leaving town and going through the countryside, and the houses becoming fewer and farther between until they arrived after several hours to what he described as the acres of his family, the old folks who never came to town, but who were waiting out on the porch for the family, for his mother, father, his sister, and his brother when they came in. And he told stories about a few family members, and we laughed all the way through. It was a word-for-word, carefully crafted story of his life, and I think it said a great deal about where Alan really came from and where he lived his whole life. He told about sitting out on the porch in the late evening with the family, kids on the floor, various uncles, aunts, family members sitting on the divan, talking, telling stories, laughing, cutting up. He told about his granny, told about the matriarch sitting in her chair, saying that she knew more than anybody on the porch, but said considerably less than anyone. And that was to him a life lesson, and I think something that he carried in the humility and the wisdom that he had to, in that quiet, wonderful reserve that we all knew of him. The sly sense of humor. He told about the sun going down and it becoming dark, and there was no electricity, there was no running water or gas, so it just became night, and the quietest quiet that he's ever known, and the darkest night that he's ever known. But he told of a night of dark wonder of a child, and he said he never felt so secure, so safe, and so happy in his life. He knew that on that porch, everything in the world that was important existed. He told about the following night and the light of the clouds coming through the tree above the porch, and there was a shimmering silver light that moved the leaves when a breeze blew. And he described with his musically and verbally and very articulately the feeling of the wind, the breeze shuttling, and the completeness of the world at that time. I think he carried that world with him to his very last day. The inner peace, the security that he held within himself, the quiet, meditative, the sly humor that he had as a child. I'd just like to say one thing as a songwriter, that it's been said so well by so many people with their voices and with their beautiful testimonies and remembrances of Alan. But as a songwriter, there's one unique quality that he had. Not only, there are a few other great songwriters who I think share this same talent, but Bob Dylan once, when commenting about what inspired him to write a song, he said, well, I write songs for people, which sounded rather plain in its simple statement. But then he said, no, I write songs for people. I write, and by that I took it to mean, and I have come to see it deeply in Alan's work. He writes the songs that we cannot write. He says the words and composes the melodies and the chords that speak for us. In several of the songs that have been mentioned already today, and of course Southern Nights, he speaks as a native of here. Those Southern Nights happen here in Louisiana, in the South, but they happen at a particular geographic place, and I think they speak for the humanity in this room and a heritage that you all share. In a song like Freedom for the Stallion, also mentioned, he speaks for the helplessness, those who cannot help themselves. He speaks for the children who are not yet old enough to vote. He speaks for freedom for the stallion and the mare and the baby colt and those who are sort of second class, those who are not meant to feel the comfort of full embrace of a society. He spoke for those who couldn't help themselves. In Hercules, a song that he wrote, must have been 40, 45, 50 years ago, and he wrote it about the mean streets of urban America. He talked about the hopelessness and the helplessness of a young man or a young woman on the streets trying to get through to the promise of this greater society, but finding the barriers and finding a tough day, a tough night to get through. He's described in this beautiful metaphor of the god Hercules what it took to reach into oneself and to get through the day, to get through another night, to survive. Then one other song that comes to mind, in which he clearly put himself and his compassion inside of another heart, was a song that I've performed with Alan as a duet on a number of occasions over the years. And I'd like to invite my friend John Cleary to come out and give me a hand here. Cornell, Nigel, grab a mic, come on over here. These are members of John's, the gentleman, the monster gentleman. Absolute monster.
The absolute monster gentleman.
So John is carrying, is one of the great musicians in the tradition of Alan, of Fats Waller and Fats Domino and Mac Rabenak. And this tradition will be carried on, I think, for many years to come by one of the great gentlemen in that lineage of exquisite musicians, exquisite pianists. And I'm so honored that they can help me out here. We're going to do this song that I think Alan reached into the heart and soul of a woman and spoke to men about what's going on down in that deep and beautiful soul. Let's see. Am I on the right? You on this mic? Listen on this microphone.
You're listening to WWOZ FM New Orleans, Boz Scaggs with John Cleary at the Orpheum, celebrating the life of Mr. Alan Toussaint.
So you think the girl's crazy? She eats up your lies like they're good, your lies like apple pie. She don't even cry. She's not a fool. She's just trying to do what her heart says to love you. And as you take to the winds, again, my friend, as she breaks down within, women, she waits for you patiently, hoping that someday you see that all she really wants to be is yours and yours alone. Eternally, what do you want the girl to do? Can't you see you're breaking the child in two? What do you want the girl to do? All she really wants is you.
She knows just what you are, still she'll be your queen.
Say the word today and build your world around her.
Now then you promise all the way out things you gon' get her, 'cause you will see, you will be so glad that you finally found a free to go.
As she watched you come and go.
You'll show.
As she watched your promises erode.
Zero.
She waits for you patiently, hoping that someday you see that all she really wants to be is yours and yours alone eternally. What do you want the girl to do? Can't you see you're breaking the child in two? What do you want the girl to do? All she really wants is you. What do you want the girl to do? Can't you see you're breaking the child in two? What do you want the girl to do?
Boz Scaggs, John Cleary, Monster Gentleman. As we prepare to hear words from Pastor Michael Green, Alan's pastor, we will hear the words of Alan himself, words that he wrote and sang in the church. Hear Alan play, "Take Me the Rest of the Way," and know that he is at peace.
There was a time I did not know you. Stumbling here and stumbling there and getting nowhere. Pointless, anointless, till you came to me. And you showed me the way, your most perfect way to everlasting life. Now I have come this far with you, my Lord, and the walk gets sweeter each day. I have come this far with you, my Lord, with you, my Lord. Take me the rest of the way. Now in any situation, I have learned to lean on you. For with you in my heart makes me a winner right from the start. Let the glory and honor and victory be thine. For you've showed me the way
Joining us now, Pastor Michael Green of the Life Gate Church.
I'm going to put you at ease. This won't be a sermon. And everybody said, no, you've already heard the sermon. You just heard the sermon. You heard the sermon. Reggie, Allison, we're here paying tribute to our friend. We've heard songs, we've heard words. Our mayor used the word gracious. Other people have used that. It's a joy to honor our friend today. I got off the phone with Reggie the other night. Like all of you, emotions were going everywhere. And just out of somewhere, I said, I have to think that when he walked up and God saw him, God said, Alan, play something sweet. You see, you've heard words like gracious, but I give you another word that rarely would be used about a man, but I want to use the word sweet. Play something sweet. Alan had such a way. You've heard the songs. Josh quoted some. The mayor quoted some. Elvis quoted some. What a gift to pull out of a heart words and music for a downtrodden man to sing freedom for a stallion and then turn right around and energize an entire city with, yes, we can. And then right in the middle of that, the whimsical side that a lot of people maybe didn't know about, where he would say, play something sweet, play something mellow. Oh, it was sweet, and that's where my mind went then. And then I realized that the word of the Lord makes a statement about sweet things, and it says that our lives should be a sweet fragrance unto the Lord. And not only as a blessing and praise to the Lord, but as a blessing to others. That was Alan. And that is why we celebrate today. You see, Paul said it this way. He said, now thanks be to God who always leads us in triumph and through us diffuses the fragrance of his knowledge in every place. For we are to God the sweet fragrance of Christ among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. To the one, it is an aroma that might lead to death, but to another, it is an aroma that leads to life. Today is all about life. The songs of Alan are about life today. Take me the rest of the way. So with the voice of triumph, I am thankful to say I have been blessed by the sweet life, the sweet legacy that was Alan. May we follow that example. Many years ago, a writer said, without a song, the day would never end. Without a song, the road would never bend. When things go wrong, a man ain't got a friend without a song. Well, Alan didn't have a song. Alan was the song. He was the song. And the sweet songs that were birthed in his heart will live forever, Reg, Allison, and in all of us. We'll hear that voice. We'll hear those passing tones that only he could play. And we will say, Lord, thank you that our lives came in contact with one sweet man. Play something sweet, Alan. So on this day, I speak blessing to you in the house, to the family. Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for your blessings. I speak comfort to a family and to friends and to loved ones in a city. And Father, let the Spirit bring comfort that goes beyond even our natural understanding. And when it came time to speak blessing to your people, you whispered in the ear of Moses. And I use those words today in this house where I say to you, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you. And may he give you all peace today. Sweet words, tribute to a sweet man. It's a sweet legacy. So it's our job to move forward and follow that example. Lord bless you today.
Thank you, Pastor Green, for that beautiful prayer. On behalf of
became
Alan
Alan's Reed's
Toussaint.
player 15 years ago, and he's been at his side ever since, literally thousands of gigs. Brian Breeze Cayolle.
Brian Breeze Cayolle brought this wonderful tribute, Ave Maria, on the clarinet for the memorial to Mr. Alan Toussaint, taking place right now at the Orpheum. And you were there with us live on WWOZ FM New Orleans.
From Jelly Roll to Fest to Allen and Mac, the tradition of the piano professor is bedrock to New Orleans music. There are precious few in any generation. He is one. The good doctor, Mac Rebenak.
Yeah, I just want to wish your condolences to Reggie and his sister and the whole family. And I think this is off the hook and appropriated. What they done to your son. Father, look at what they done to your son. I have felt them all 10,000 times. Have seen my body lying stiff at my feet. I have spent them all around my chest, by my head toward the east, a victim of the west. Mother, look at what they done to your son. Father, look at what they done to your son. Now I see visions of dumplings dancing in my head, but I'm not gonna worry. I might wake up in the morning dead. If I die, stone before I wake, Lord, grant me one last wish. Would you please unveil the face? No, but I've been told about the work of the devil, and now I know that's life. Thank you. One.
The Good Dr. Mac Rabenak on WWOZ FM New Orleans, coming to you live from the Orpheum Theater in the Central Business District of New Orleans. This is WWOZ
something that New Orleans
FM New Orleans
owns. Our kind of jazz. In the dance halls of Buddy Bolden, King Oliver, and Pops, to the brass funk of Second Line in the Streets. For over 50 years, the Preservation Hall Jazz Band has kept the world's light on our music, original New Orleans jazz. And so it was that last year saw the Preservation Hall Band and Alan Toussaint American Tour. They played 42 shows together in 48 nights. Alan playing their songs, they playing his. The Preservation Hall Jazz Band.
and trying to live with love. Try to find the peace within without stepping on one brother. And you respect the women of the world, and when that you are his brother. And we got to make this man a lot of man in the world in which we live. And we gotta help each man be a better man, a kindness that we give. I know we can make it. I know darn well we can work it out. Oh yes we can, oh we can. Yes we can, don't we can. I know we can make it. I know we can make it. Oh yes we try, oh yes we can, oh we can. Yes we can break up somebody. Take care of the children, little children of the world. They are strongest hope for the future, the little boys and girls. We got to make this land a better land than the world in which we live. And we got to help this man be a better man with the kindness that we give. I know we can make it. I know don't we know we can work it out. Oh yes we can, but we can't. Because I can't, but yes I want, yes we can. I know we can make it. I know we can make it. Yes we can, I know we can. Yes we can. Great God, somebody. Yes we can. Put your hands right here. Take care of the children, little children of the world. They are strongest hope for the future. Yeah, the little boy and girl. I know we can make it, my mother. I know we can make it if we try. If we can. Great God, somebody, if we want, if we can. I know we can make it. I know no way we can work it out. Oh, yes we can, oh we can. If we can, great God, somebody, if we want, if we can. I know no well we can work it out. But yes we can, no we can. So we break off your mind if we want, yes we can. I know we can work it. I know we can work it and make it. Yes we can, no we can. Yes we can break off your mind. I know we can, no we can. 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 I know we can, no we can.
Reservation Hall Jazz Band, y'all. Thank you, Davell, sitting in Alan's seat. As we near the home stretch of the program today, we're going to go into traditional New Orleans style. Please welcome back John Boutte.
feeble, life is old.
This is WWOZ FM New Orleans, coming to you live from the Orpheum Theater for the memorial to Alan Toussaint.
We invite all of our performers and speakers back up to the stage. With help from Pres Hall Brass and Treme Benny Jones, we'll ask Troy Andrews, trombone Shorty, to lead us all in I'll Fly Away.
Hey,
I'll fly away. This concludes the musical portion of our tribute to Alan. We'll now turn the proceedings, we ask everybody to stay seated, turn the proceedings over to the Rhodes Funeral Home.